right. Well, happy spring. Spring is starting to be sprung around. We've moved time zones. Have we figured out what time it is? Probably not, but that's okay. And I'm excited for all the things that are happening here, still happening in the virtual world. I'll have a hybrid coming up this Thursday. The Seattle Parks and Rec are looking for new park rangers, and I got called in to help them. Let's see, I think they're attempting to hire 200 new park rangers here in Seattle Parks and Rec. And so there is a great effort for that. And that program will be hybrid. I believe it also is going to have American Sign Language. So all good and exciting things. Now, with that, today I've got a speaker, and she's a two-time TED speaker, professional keynoter, and a woman's financial confidence advocate. Let's give a warm round of applause to Vivian. Hi, Vivian. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, let's see, you're a multi-passionate entrepreneur and you started in video and film, and of course, you're doing quite a few things now. Why don't you do a favor for my people who don't know you, take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Okay. As you said, my name is Vivian Cobb. I am a professional keynote speaker, inspirational mostly. I talk to my audience is middle-aged women who need to discover their financial confidence so they can have the hard conversations they need to have to make sure they have a healthy financial future.
Okay, so you went from film to finance. Oh, look at that. I got an alliteration in here. And hello to June Riley, by the way. June Riley's watching. She is also a CEO and mentors many other women entrepreneurs in the Silicon Valley. How did you
Oh,
go from
nice.
film to finance?
I'm not a financial person. So let's just be really clear. I actually approach this subject from the emotional relationship we have to money. And all this came about because about 11 years ago, I lost my husband, and I also lost all my money and my house and everything else because I didn't ask the hard questions. And I know there are a lot of women out there that this has happened to, or that could potentially happen to. So that's why I'm out advocating and trying to teach women the right questions to ask, not to be afraid to talk about finances so that what happened to me doesn't happen to them.
What's one of the hard questions that you think that women should ask themselves? So I'd love to hear like the top one or two hard questions you like to ask.
Well, if they're going to start with themselves, which of course they need to ask, do they really know what's going on? And I'm talking specifically women who are in relationships with a partner or a spouse of some sort. And, do they know what's going on? Have they abdicated their financial future and life to their partner? And now they are clueless as to what is going on. So they need to ask themselves that. And we have a lot of emotional baggage around money. It's as deep a topic as any that we can have in our relationship. And yet women are very good at just letting the men handle it or letting somebody else handle it and not really knowing. So they need to step up in that way. And then the other hard question is the conversation that they need to have with their spouse and to approach that in a healthy manner so that they can get on the same page with what's going on. Because I didn't do that. I lived the consequences of being financially devastated. And I just don't want that to happen to others. So I'm out spreading the message.
What do you think is the top thing that helped your turnaround? Right. So it sounds like, well, I love that, of course, that you turned tragedy into, perhaps your destiny. Right. And
Yeah.
where is that? Quite often, every entrepreneur has a turn somewhere around here. I'm kind of curious, where was that turn for you where you felt like, I think I might be able to get through this?
Wow. I don't think we have that kind of time, John. I mean, it took years. It took years of well, first of all, I had to deal. I had to deal with the storm that I was left with. So that actually postponed grieving my husband. I mean, I really was left very unaware of what was going on. And then I had all this coming at me,
Mm,
creditors and
mm,
foreclosures and all this stuff. I guess I just put my head down and said, I have to get through this. To me, there was no other option. I had 6 children, 3 of them my biological, and 3 of them my stepchildren, all watching me to see my every move. So I had to be a pillar of strength for them. And I just had to get, and I also, I enlisted a lot of help from financial people, from friends. I had to reach out because I needed a lot of help at the time. And then I just realized, wow, this is something that, as you said, it's my destiny. This is my life. I have to own it. And what am I going to do with this? I'm not going to crater under it. So now I'm out there speaking about it and helping other women figure out how not to be in that position.
Yeah, I'm the last of 5 kids, right? And my mom got divorced, or my parents got divorced, and then she chose not to take any of the money inside of that. And so, yeah, so finances is one of those things I think is a super strong topic around
Mhm.
there. But the kids leverage. I mean, the kids are like ultimate leverage. I think you want to if you don't do it for yourself, you'll do it for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my other curious question is, you had some help. So I'm curious, who were some of your first allies or first really helpful people that kind of either talked you off the ledge and started getting you down a path?
That's a great question. It's interesting, and I think a lot of people who have experienced loss can relate to this. The people that you think are going to be there tend not to be, and then people show up in your life. It's a very interesting phenomena. So I had all these people that I had clients, real estate clients that were instantaneously there for me. Whereas some of the older friends that I had or acquaintances kind of disappeared. And I think part of that is because they just didn't know what to say, they didn't know how to handle it. But anyway, I had friends, I had lawyers that were overseeing the estate. Of course, they're being paid, but they took a real personal interest in all of it because they saw the situation I was in and really stepped up. I just had some great professional people, some accounting people, and like I said, lawyers who just really stepped in and started advocating for me, and it was a lifesaver. It really was.
Well, one of my very good friends, Jeanette Ocampo Welch, right, is known as the Will Fairy, right? So I'm kind of curious, right? Was there a will in this situation or not? Or and you don't have to disclose if you don't want to, but
No, there was a will. There was because I, unfortunately, my husband died from diagnosis to death in 3.5 weeks
ooh,
of
ooh,
colon cancer. Yeah.
no good.
By the time I convinced him to go to the doctor, it was beyond too late. But so
Hmm.
that 3.5 weeks, and he didn't have a will. And instead of spending my time by his bedside and all the movie scenes of the romantics, that no, I was running around like a crazy person getting his affairs in order so there would be a will. He signed his will probably 3 days before he died. Yeah,
And well, I mean, there's tragedy here, but you probably averted a much bigger tragedy. I hope you know
I
that.
did. I do know that. I very much know that. It was bad enough as it was. But yes, that did help. and
This
and again, I had people uh advocating with me and helping me get that done, so it was very important.
is that one of the steps that you tell women now, which is like, if you don't have a will, go get one,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It's
and
crazy not to have that.
well, here's the crazy part too. So my mom passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, and she came around, and the pastor in the memorial came back and said, here's his opening comments. He goes, "Your mom was a leader." And we're like, well, what track is he taking with it? That's not exactly what I was supposed to say. And he goes, your mom had her affairs in order, and the stats currently are is that 1 in 4, only 1 in 4 have their stuff together. 25%. The other
Yeah.
75% are going to leave it out there. And can you talk? I mean, can you talk about some of the things that people should be thinking about if they don't have a will? If you don't mind.
Well, again, I'm not a financial planner, and that's not really what I talk about. I dive deep on our emotional, what prevents us from having those conversations and what would prevent us from getting those things done. A lot of it is fear. A
Okay.
lot of it is just ignorance. We just don't know. And we're afraid to ask. We're afraid to advocate for ourselves. And this is a really systemic problem with women that spans generations. Women tend to hand over their financial power to their mate. And that is really a dangerous thing to do. I can tell that. I can tell you can suffer some pretty dire consequences if you let that happen. Yet we're not really educated to do anything different. And that really needs to change, especially considering that women are going to be in the next probably 10 to 15 years the major money holders in this country, because the boomers, the men, are starting to die off and the women are going to inherit all this money, and they need to know
Hmm.
what to do and what they have, and do they owe money, do they get money. I mean, there are women out there who just have no clue where they are in any of it.
How do they start that conversation then, right? Let's just go to somebody. I mean, what's the best either advice or things that you can tell them to start that conversation?
I think that it's really important, like in any relationship, you have to know your spouse, know, and men tend to be very defensive when it comes to being questioned about money, because men's relationship with money is quite different than women's. Men look at it as being, are you not trusting me? What do you want from this conversation? They tend to be like, well, what's going on here? When in actual fact, the woman just wants to know, just wants information. But like I said, it's so systemic that those traditional roles, and I'm not saying that this is everybody. Of course, there are rules to anything, right? And exceptions to anything. But it seems like like you said, 25%, there seems to be a vast majority of this kind of thinking. And I think it takes the woman, like I said, finding her financial confidence.
Mm.
Maybe she does some research first and learns a few things so that she can at least speak the language to her husband and say, honey, do we have stocks? I'd like to know more about that. And not approach it in a adversarial way, but kind of like, hey, we're a team and I would really like to be on the same page with you as far, and if anything were to happen, it would be really great to know what I need to do and how I need to do it. And get her partner on that track, instead of like, whoa, why are you asking me all these questions? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, hopefully there are a few male allies out there who would welcome that, which is like,
Absolutely. Of course there are. But a
have
lot
they,
of times there's not. That's why I kind of deal with middle-aged women, get the older generation,
oh,
because
and
they're coming up on those things that could be life-changing, like their spouse dying. And so and they were brought up in an era like me where, I mean, when I was a teenager, you couldn't have a credit card without a man's signature. You couldn't have a mortgage without a man's signature. I mean, it's amazing how far we've come, but it's still very, very new that women have financial power at all. We didn't have it until, the late 80s, and that wasn't that long ago. So
In virtual, we talk about storytelling being like one of the, storytelling is one of the oldest and still most powerful training methods. I'm just curious if you have a story of like somebody you helped, where they came from and where they went to, in either in case working with you or, going through this process. So I'm just curious if you have a story.
Well, right now I tell my own story because it's the most powerful one I have at the moment. But I do have a story of a woman who, she's a major breadwinner, making, high six figures, and her husband was only making low five figures, and yet he was calling all the shots around money. But she was the major breadwinner, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you thinking here? Why are you just doing everything he says without questioning it? Why aren't you looking at this in a broader spectrum? And again, that's the emotional relationship we have to money and how we were brought up. And especially as women, we just don't think about it. And that's what I'm out to change.
Well, you'll love this story about my grandmother. She lived till she was 108. She was one of the top people at Eli Lilly in terms of researchers when they got there. So they were at Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, and every day at lunch. And by the way, like women, when she came from there, of course, very few went to college and very few became doctors in China at the time, right? So this is a while back. And she used to go to lunch and she would go into one of the brokerage halls and just sit in the hall, eat lunch, and look at the numbers.
Mhm.
And she did this for months. And finally, one of the VPs of the bank finally came up to her and said, Hi, my name is Tom. I'm one of the VPs here at this brokerage firm. She goes, I see you every day here in lunch, right? And I'm just curious, what are you doing? And she goes, Oh yeah, I like looking at the numbers. And he goes, Do you know what they mean? And he goes, Not exactly yet. And he goes, Would you like to learn? And she goes, Yes. And so this guy taught her the old school, what is it, dividend, right, and value investing. And she actually, the only time she ever borrowed money in her life was to buy Eli Lilly stock before it went public.
Oh, wow.
For those who haven't checked Eli Lilly, ELI, by the way, is that it has split probably over 24 plus times in its lifetime. And she was able to buy that stock before it went public at a price undisclosed. And so she became kind of like her husband was like the main researcher and he was the science guy, but she turned out to be the better money person inside of this thing and parlayed, whatever money that she borrowed into a large sum by the time they were done. And so I think that's a great story of you got to be curious. You might need to be a little persistent. You have to probably do something a little different. Right.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely. I love that story. Thanks for sharing it.
you're welcome. So speaking of which, then of course, in the last 3 years, you probably went high virtual, but you were of course on video beforehand too. You also had even your own production company. So I'd love to hear, especially in the last 3 years, what has to happen for you to really be engaged inside of a virtual meeting?
That's an awesome question. And I love that you asked it and that you have this show about it. I think one of the most important things in anyway is whoever is presenting has to be creative. And we already talked about storytelling. Of course, that's how we relate to each other is through stories. And that's a very, very important component as well. But like right now, I'm standing, and I think that adds a lot of energy if you have that capability. Because on a virtual stage, you have to bring all the energy right through that little teeny tiny dot on your camera or whatever your camera is. And it takes a lot of energy. You really have to, and creativity. So just sitting there reading and doing absolutely nothing is just not acceptable anymore. We've had plenty of time to learn the right equipment, all the things that we need to sound and look good. Yes. And it also allows me to, I can use my whole space here. And I love that. That's what I do. And I also have props, like I have my little scary monster Are you
Where did you
are
get the
you
scary monster from?
Amazon, of course. But it's like, are you afraid to talk about money? Anyway, creativity. And that's, have fun with it. You've got this little tiny box. Why not do something fun with it? So that's what I try and do.
Well, I love that. I mean, the thing too is why do we as people always like get into a pattern, which is like, I'm going to share screen and talk for 45 minutes. Why is that a pattern? Why can't, there are so many things. Actually, you got to love today. So today I did a program earlier this morning. It's called the Seeds of Virtual Facilitation. And so it's got a whole garden theme, right? And so like these are some of the like this. I actually get to do this as a prop, right? There's a gardening hat, right? And so, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, these are things that easy to do. They're all around the house, and nobody's doing them.
Yeah, I agree. This is a little box of fun that you can just bring stuff. And like you said, it's all right here at your fingertips, and you can just bring it in and you take it back out, and you can bring this in and you can take it back out. And you can do fun things. And I love my shelves back here because I can change. If I'm doing a presentation for a client, I can put their logo up there, or I can put different things up there, depending on who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about. So, there's some versatility there. And I even have a curtain that I can pull. You want to see it?
Oh yeah, let's bring it in.
Yeah, I can pull this curtain.
Oh wait,
So
wait, here,
then I
give you a drum roll. Continue. And
and
there you go.
I can pull my curtain so that I have a completely different background if I need it. So,
Ah.
and I got this stuff at IKEA. It's easy peasy.
It's easy peasy, but again, now did you pull some of these back from your cinematic mind, in the past, right? Is that what you're thinking about?
Possibly. Maybe I have an advantage.
Because it's no different, right? It's no, all cinematic
No.
stuff is just knowing that this stuff is seen in the camera. What can I do with it, right?
Right. Exactly. And that stuff is timeless. It goes back to, you know, silent movies. But all you have to do is open your mind a little bit, be a little creative, and not just turn the camera on yourself. It's not about selfies.
I,
Make it about your audience. Try and
I'll
figure
give
out
this,
something fun that they would like to hear about or see. Yeah.
opening the box and opening your mind is really something, again, I think that people need to do more and more, especially the longer that we stay on this platform, right? And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's one. Nicole Smith is joining us. She said John was digging for gnomes earlier. uh, I see Viviisms. Tell me what a Viviism is, and maybe share one or two Viviisms.
My Viviisms, I have, oh, I'm about to lose this. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Uh, they're just little snippets of wisdom. I have a lot of wisdom through all the trials and tribulations of my life. And so I've turned them into little Viviisms. I also have, let me just grab this for you real quick. I actually have a column called Viviisms. And so it's just me, me just talking about hopefully helpful things. One of them is, I'll give you an example. Sometimes we have to borrow the belief that others have in us. We don't see it yet, but like if somebody tells you, oh, you're really good at that. And you're like, no, I'm not good at that. Yes, you are. And so if you can just take that belief and nurture it within yourself, and then all of a sudden you believe it yourself, that's a Viviism. Just sharing those little nuggets.
Well, here, you can borrow this. Then Nicole says you have some great hair.
Oh, thank you.
Is that
Thank you, Nicole.
I feel like that's the natural curly piece or something like that.
It is natural. You can tell because it's doing its own thing. It has its own mind. I just leave it alone. Let it do its thing.
All right. Well, tell me, who do you feel like was the best virtual programmer speaker in the past 3 years for you?
Oh my goodness. That's a trick question.
I'll play the
Um,
Jeopardy music if you want, right? Let's see, I do have Jeopardy.
doo, doo, doo.
Take your time. It's fine.
Uh, you know what? What came to my mind is John Chen. He is fantastic.
Oh, I did not pay for that, by the way, but thank you.
Yeah.
Which program did you see me keynote at? Now I have to think about it. Did I see?
Well, I
Uh,
just think all your virtual stuff that you're doing and just the fact that you're doing this is phenomenal. I mean, we need this kind of thing because you're right, virtual is here to stay. It's funny. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I feel like I'm on Zoom more than I was during the pandemic. And it's now there's no days off. It's, like I live in Colorado. If it snows, we don't have snow days anymore. We just jump on Zoom. And I really love my snow days. I'm really bummed.
so Vivian, you know that the course, it's not either or. You need to figure a both and the both and is to come take your phone out on a snow day with your other people. If you haven't seen my recent series, right, I did a whole interview series from Satellite Beach in Florida. And I had all this extra equipment, so I took one of my cameras and was pointed left out my window down the beach. And all I did was like spend half of my calls showing it to people.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I was just trying to get the value out of my Airbnb, which was literally on the water in this amazing home, and at least that it still can be done. Who said?
That's the creativity we were talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you can find enough signal, right, you can actually do meetings while walking your feet in the ocean. And so, who says there's any limitations to any of this stuff? In fact, it's better if you stretch it to figure out what you can do. Have you ever seen there's a TikTok and Facebook reel guy named Sweetbox? Have you seen him?
I have not.
He is now doing Zoom meetings while shooting t-shirts at an NHL game, while riding a motorcycle, while crashing on a bicycle, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, he just recently got a YouTube Gold Video Award because I think he reached 1 million or plus views, something crazy like.
Wow. So he's doing virtual RX or whatever. He's doing that. I'm not sure I want to swing from anything or fall or break anything while I'm on virtual. I'll leave it to the young guys.
Yeah, but tell me what you see in the video trends now, right? You've watched through over a decade of video transition, and like the videos that I see now, shorter, faster, crazier, right? As like what people are watching that get the view counts. And I'm curious, what are you seeing and what do you agree or disagree with?
Well, this is not going to be a popular statement, but I'm old school.
That's okay.
I like talking a little slower. I like taking the pauses so people can soak in what you said, and everything is anti that right now. It's taking normal conversation and speeding it up or cutting it closer and closer and closer and making it faster and faster and faster. That's not where I come from or what I subscribe to, but that's certainly the trend. I have a 24-year-old son, and I showed him one of my videos, and he goes, "Yeah, Mom, I wouldn't watch this. You need to cut it." I'm like, "Okay, great." But you know what? He's not my audience, so I don't. Gonna do me.
I think you could almost take the challenge though to cut a video in their style just to show you could do it. I bet
Yeah,
it'd be funny.
it would
You
be.
could almost do it so far that it's a parody of.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. Thank you. I will do
Love
that.
it.
But anyway, yeah, but I think the nice thing about our world right now, as far as video is concerned, is there certainly is something for everyone. And
Mm.
humor is a really good thing. I mean, that it has been forever thus, right? If you can make people laugh, they're going to watch. But I don't think we should be speeding it up anymore because, oh my God, there's so much information already that's coming at us like fire hydrant hoses. So I think it's nice to, so if you want to watch something a little slower, tune into my videos because I talk slower and I take pauses.
You know what's funny too, though, is the trend. There's a inverse trend to that, which is one cuts, right? I don't know if you've seen a collection of one cut videos. So if you go backwards too in the movie styles, it's amazing. Just count in your head like 1001, 1002, and watch how long it takes until it's another cut. It used to be like 30 and 60 seconds, and now it's like 1.5 to 3 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
So
Crazy.
there are like this. This is technically a one cut video. This is I guess one of the reasons why I like live is because it is authentic and right. There's no going back. Like we fall over on camera, right, and whatever. It's gonna happen. We can't go backwards and run that through. I love Nicole Smith too. Said this. John interviewed me at the pool. That's right. So I was in a pool in Florida and used that as the background for the setup. And I
Oh,
actually
nice.
wanted to test a mic. I actually walked around a pool with a mic to see if I could actually interview her while walking through the pool. I only got part way before I got cut off from the Bluetooth. Anyways, all right. Well,
Way to experiment.
yeah, I had to try and figure out what's possible. Speaking of what's
Right.
possible, let's head to the future, Vivian. So, what do you see for virtual in the future? I'm just curious from your viewpoint, especially as again, your goal is to impact and make a difference with your specific audience. Where do you think virtual is
Mhm.
going to go from here?
I think that I know for me, one of my goals is to actually have a video series and package as opposed to, having a blog or having a newsletter that goes out, but or uh, a package of written material. I would really like to package video, which is being done now, but I think that trend is really going to continue. I think people like to watch. Reading is great, but when you're busy and maybe in the background or whatever, you just want to kind of glance over and watch and listen as you're doing other things. And you can't do that when you're reading. You have to read. So I think that trend's going to continue. And I really don't know. As technology advances and our attention span hopefully will slow down. I don't know how it could get any faster. Are we going to go to milliseconds next? I mean, I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I do see that. I think one of the well, Vivian, here's something that you can use too with your audience. I know we've been talking to a lot of other speakers, right? We're getting to the stage of what we call legacy work, and legacy work says that we have this experience, and what's gonna live beyond you.
Mhm.
And so, in creating a series like that, a video series does do that. I think that's something that's unique.
Yeah.
There's another television show featured it, and maybe there was a movie based upon it, where they took somebody and talked to it long enough that it was able to create an AI of the existence of that person, and then the person. It was a murder mystery show. It was like NCIS. And they got killed, and they could actually talk to the AI, and they discovered a clue from the AI that was from all these recordings that helped them solve the mystery. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that's something that's unique.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, AI, a lot of speakers, they already do that. As you know, you can have an AI of yourself present. Just like you can, chat GPT and all the other things. But I'm going to start saying, I am not a robot. This was not written by a robot. This is my mind, my creativity. We may have to start doing those kinds of disclaimers, which is really, really weird
Okay.
to me.
Here, we're gonna declare this, right? This is an AI free presentation. There is no AI. We did not generate anything with artificial intelligence. Maybe we should start a movement on RI, which is real intelligence, Vivian. That's it,
I
right? Hashtag RI, right? And so we're gonna just declare this. I'm gonna put this in every interview now, saying that this is not a robot, right? This is me. This is a
I am a real person. I am a real person. I promise.
I just want to see Vivian on the dance floor do the robot now. That's all we got left on this program. Oh my goodness. I do have one part. Let's see. What's one wish that you have for the future? One wish that you have for the future.
Oh, wow. One wish I have for the future is that we rediscover our humanity,
Mm-hmm.
that we are kind to each other again.
Somebody said that the pandemic was actually the greatest piece of empathy we may have had in the last 20 years. And that now as the world's opening up, they felt like some of it disappeared and they're asking for it back. Can we bring that empathy back?
Oh, I agree. Whoops. Sorry. I agree. It was our chance to reset, and we had this big pause, and look what we did with it. We didn't, yeah. We have all these chances. I think Mother Nature gives us all these chances, and we just keep ignoring it, and it's going to be to our detriment. I have no doubt.
You know me though, that like I say that coronavirus was a gift to me because like I changed an entire company in less than 2 years, and it was better for me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, right now,
Oh,
like there are some parts. Oh, here was my other inverse story, which was I needed to go somewhere, and normally it takes 17 minutes with no traffic, but I left at 4 p.m. It took me an hour and 20, Vivian, and that's like an hour I'm never going to get back in my life that I could have been doing something else, right?
True.
And I could have completed this visit by clicking a button if somebody had the appropriate gear on the other side, but no, I had to spend an hour 20 in traffic. And so is the real world all that it was lived up to be? I'm not sure yet.
I don't know. I really like being in traffic because I can think. That's where I do a lot of my thinking. Of course, a lot of my singing and car dancing. Hello. It's my alone time. I kind of like it. So don't take my car time away, would you?
That's where you can listen to all the podcasts and all the other master classes and recorded videos and other types.
Right.
All right, Vivian, if you want people to remember one thing from this interview, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Well, women, I want them to remember that they need to, if they're not financially in order, please step up and get some knowledge, get some help, and get on the same page with your spouse so that something tragic and huge consequences don't affect your life. People in general, I just want you to remember to be creative and kind to each other.
Outstanding. Thanks again, Vivian. And of course, where can people find you at?
I can be found. I'd love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn / Vivian Cobb. It's easy peasy.
That's right. Vivian Cobb. Like
right?
That's right.
Like Cobb salad.
Like Cobb. That's actually better. That's actually way better because Cobb actually has one B.
Yeah, don't call me corn cob. That was high school. Okay. We're not going back to high school.
And she hails from the great city of Colorado Springs in Colorado. So if you see car dancing or car singing, it's probably Vivian.
With the curly hair.
With the curly hair that my people love, by the way, that my people love. Vivian, thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. All right, this is John Chen, and we just had a chance here, engaging virtual meetings interview with the one and only Vivian Cobb with a key message to women. By the way, get your finances in order, all right? And make sure and check out her on LinkedIn. There's a link inside of there. Hey, you want to be interviewed here too? I would love to introduce you to our audience. Make sure and hit the link in the button, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. Click interview. If you're watching this on any of the social medias, make sure and click subscribe or follow. And we'll see you next time. Oh, wait, my button's not here. We'll see you next time.
Always start people and keep whole people. Show you got heart.